afternoon. My name is Dennis Garnhum. I'm the Artistic Director of Theatre Calgary, and I've been there for a decade. And I think I'm on this panel to be an example of a leader who did it his way. I very much believe I'm self-taught, self-trained in terms of my leadership, and my belief is that the way to understand the world, to be better as a leader, is to see the world. So it's kind of a well-known joke in my job for the last decade at Theatre Calgary. I have two jobs. One is running Theatre Calgary, and the other is going around the world doing all kinds of other activities that are not related directly to Theatre Calgary. But I would argue what's essential in training is the practicality of it. I mean, I think there's incredible programs out there, incredible programs, and if I find them, I do them. I just came back last week from Thailand, where I was very honored for 5 weeks to direct West Side Story in English at the Bangkok University. And that experience alone is teaching me extraordinary things about, but still digesting it, extraordinary things about, I think, what's going to be possible for me as a leader, whether I'm going to move into education, whether I'm going to move to Bangkok. All of these things are on the top of my list, but also what we can do. And actually, in fact, while I was there, surprise, surprise, I found some young leaders that we're trying to bring back to Theatre Calgary and work with us now, because there's these extraordinary Thai kids. Any opportunity that I can go and find and do, I think the onus is on the individual. I don't know how you teach leadership. I can't think of leaders, especially many of the people in this room, who aren't extraordinary because you found your way. I think we need to dare to be and dare to find. And so I think what's missing is that willingness and that humility to say, I can be better, and the best way to be better is to get out in the world and to see things. Yeah. I literally will take any opportunity. When I first started directing opera, I think I directed one opera, and I decided that I had to go to the Opera America conference in LA as an independent opera director, which I'd done one. So I snuck my way in. It was in LA, and I actually brought my producer, Leslie McMillan, from Theatre Calgary. And in this conference of 200 people, there was 2 theatre people, and it was us. And I felt very privileged, but it also made sense as a large organization. I don't get that kind of stimulation unless I'm at the Arts Summit. But it was the best conference I've ever been to in my life for what we did. And, you know, opera jokes are the same as theater jokes. They translate pretty fast. And I think what's missing as well is the willingness of our boards and our staff to believe that this is a valuable use of time. It took me many years at Theatre Calgary when I'd come back and a staff member would say, "How was your holiday?" And I'd say, "Well, it wasn't a holiday. I know New York sounds like a holiday, but it's not a holiday when you're making these kind of decisions," as per how I am now, which is very supported and encouraged enormously. And now what I do when I travel and I work in Bangkok, whatever, the board it's always about what can you do for Theatre Calgary? How can you make us look good? So I hilariously show up to Bangkok University on a ginormous sign there. It says West Side Story in partnership with Theatre Calgary, which wasn't really true, but we're plastered all over downtown Bangkok. But what I did want to mention and what I did want to talk about, which Janice is speaking about, is the Governor General's Leadership Conference, which is probably the best conference, a formal thing that I've done. In 2012, I was very happy to be part of this. If we don't know what this is, I have been asked to just mention a bit about this, and I also want you to listen either for yourself, many people in this room, or for people on your staff, because applications are now being accepted for 2017. So the Governor General Leadership Conference is an extraordinary mid-career kind of opportunity for leaders of all sectors to come together to explore Canada. It's an extraordinary thing that began in 1983, every 4 years. Now the years are changing because they want to line up with 2017, but I had the great honor in 2012. And how it works, in my year there was 1,500 people applied, 230 people accepted. You're accepted by your region, so Calgary accepted me. There are volunteers, alumni, who run each region. And what happens is you go on an all-expense paid, as Michael Rubinoff called it, the Amazing Race of Canada experience, because he's been on it as well, where you go for 15 days. And what happened my year, we all began in Halifax. We were all flown to Halifax, a plenary for the weekend, meeting with these great world leaders, union leaders, professors from Singapore, with Governor General, of course. And then, like the Amazing Race, we were handed our luggage, we were handed a little ticket, we ran to the airport, sort of, and we were divided across 16 or probably more regions across the country. I was very fortunate to get my top pick, which was Yukon. So there I was on a bus with like-minded individuals, union leaders, people from Air Canada, from the Board of Commerce from Montreal, myself. I was terrified. I was so out of my league. I was afraid, personally so afraid, that they were not going to understand me, like me, care for me, laugh at my jokes like they do at Theatre Calgary. But they did. We then had 2 weeks where we had about 8 meetings a day, from breakfast, lunch, and everything in between. We saw as much of the territory as we could, meeting with civic leaders, the premier, working in soup kitchens, and of course the most extraordinary experience being welcomed onto a First Nations into a First Nations community. At the end of that time, all of these groups who have been doing the same things from across the country, everybody flew back to Ottawa. We had 2 days to prepare our presentation, and then we all had 40 minutes to present in a room like this to our whole group, including, of course, our Governor General, affectionately known as Grandpa Canada, apparently is what they call him there. And we presented. He then came up, joined us on stage, and gave some critique of our opinion. This whole thing finished at the National Gallery in the rotunda with a beautiful gala dinner, and the Governor General was extraordinarily kind and generous through the whole experience. As you can imagine, everyone fell in love with everyone, but then he did the most remarkable thing. He stood up very nicely, said, "Thank you, this has been, we can tell you've had an extraordinary journey. Now, you owe us. You owe the people of Canada to go out and make a change. We've given you a whole lot of people who believed in you, and now's your chance. And I don't care where you come from, but you must go out and make a change." It is life-changing, and the conference before mine, a man named Naheed Nenshi was at it, and 2 years later he became our mayor, and he told me yesterday that in fact it really was a life-changing, extraordinary experience, and he got to do something which he never thought he would do, which was spend 2 weeks in New Brunswick. Thank you.